You should create more than you consume. You should.
I think I learned from that more than like my experience because it's like a genuine conversation.
Like I always say, like I'm just me and you're just you.
Yeah.
And together we're just us.
Yes.
And we can do anything.
Thanks for coming out. Do you want to kind of like introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm just Nate, and I make videos of me helping people in need. People in need is a broad term. It's not always just homeless people. It could be anybody that's struggling. Homeless people tend to be the majority of my content, just because I can't do enough, and there's so many.
Yeah.
So that's where I end up falling to more often than not.
That's a great intro. I feel like you're still working on that like bio of yours because you're still discovering more and more of like as you keep going. Because this is kind of new for you, right? Like at least a year in.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I started in June.
Okay.
I've always liked helping people, but never this way. And then, I've had so many ideas I had a surgery on my ankle about 2 years ago, and then it got infected, and I had like almost a year of recovery. And in that time, I thought of a lot of different ways I could do something similar to this, and what could I do? And I had a lot of time to kind of plan it out and figure it out and do a little research on how other people were doing it and what I would like to do in my own way and my own voice and my own style kind of. But a lot of it all stemmed from, like I had this kind of close call with this job that I moved to Reno for. And I say close call just because I had put up a lot of money to, I'd just gotten caught up on a lot of things. And then I just signed a lease on a home, and I was let go from this job. And it was really tight because I, just did the down payment, just did the first month, had basically an empty house with like a couch. And so I was like, with the couch, I had like one payment left to make on it. Like I put a down payment on it, and then I was going to go pick it up. The guy ordered it for me. And I was like a little short to go and get it. And I just like talked with him and told him my situation, and he worked with me, and I was still able to get it. But anyway, yeah. So I was like, at that point in time, I didn't know what I was going to do and how I was going to, move forward. And was I going to just let go of this new lease and move back down to Southern California, or was I going to stay in Reno? I really liked Reno. I still love Reno. I'm still there. But at the time, I didn't know what I was going to do for sure. So I saw people out there flying their signs, as we all do, and I just thought, man, that could be me. That could be me if I don't make the right choices right now and don't ask for help to people that are willing to offer it, friends and family. And, go outside my comfort zone a little bit and try new things, whatever job comes. If I don't do all those things, that could be me. And, I still have my ID. I have all that stuff that most of those people don't have. And I had a car. And so anyway, I started doing food delivery, and I was able to do okay. I would make like $900 a week if I worked a lot. Wow. A lot, though. I'm telling you, like 12-hour days, like 6 days a week. Yeah. So sure, $900 a week sounds good, but that's also before taxes. Wow. So that I did okay, but in the meantime, I'm like, man, like I think people would be interested and have that same thought I have right now. And how did these people get to this spot, and what decisions or what circumstances led to that? What could it be? Whatever. I mean, how could I put that together in a way in which I could go and help people and maybe put it on YouTube or do something and spread awareness about this stuff, because it's not getting any better. And, what could I do to help? Whatever. All these thoughts are going through my head, and time goes on, and then COVID comes through, and also my surgery was like right around that time. And it's just like, man, this is not getting any better. Things are getting really bad. Like, I think that this is a sign, like I need to do this. There's no more thinking about it. I just got to go for it some way or another. I watch a lot of people on YouTube. Like there's a channel called Invisible People. And he just interviews people that are homeless. I think his name is Mark, if I remember right. And I like what he did, but I think he was homeless in the past too, so he has some experience, and I liked what he did, but I wanted to do more, and he, his channel was growing and doing well, and then I'm like, well, what about this short form stuff? I wasn't even on TikTok. My girlfriend was on TikTok all the time. I used to make fun of her. I'm like, seriously, how do you sit there and just scroll for like 4 or 5 hours straight? Like, what a waste. Why? Why? You could be you could be creating stuff. I said, you should create more than you consume. You should. And she just like didn't really get the concept, whatever. And then of course, I'm like, well, let me check this out. And got on TikTok. And, I've been on Instagram and all the other stuff, but TikTok itself, checked it out, saw a lot of the other guys. Like at that point in time, Charlie Rocket, I saw some of what he's doing. And then Jimmy Darts.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of other kind of smaller creators that were kind of up and coming, but those guys seemed like they had been doing it a while. And I respected what they did and what they do. But I didn't want to do the same thing. But anyway, I saw that there's this is a niche. Like the people are doing this. Okay, maybe short form is going to be the start of everything. And started piecing it together. Whatever. Got down to figuring out how I was going to film it. Go out there, and I'm like, how do I start though? I had all these other ideas, and I my very first video that I never posted, I actually did just interview somebody. And I felt like I didn't give them anything. Wow. I felt like I just took, and I didn't like that. I'm like, man, I'm just getting their story and I'm listening, and I didn't help them in any way.
Yeah.
Other than spreading their story, which sure, that's good, but I want to do something. Like it's hard to listen to someone that's struggling and then walk away without doing anything.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Wow.
So I went back to the drawing board. What can I do? How can I start? I don't have any money. I thought of selling one of my cars because I have like a project car, like a Subaru WRX I've had forever. It just sits. I don't drive it. Anyway, I thought about selling that, fixing it up, selling it, and taking that money and then going and helping people. But I was like, man, I really don't want to get rid of that car. What else could I do? Oh, why don't I go do Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever again? Uber Eats was the one I was still signed up for. Why don't I go do that? And then take whatever I make and go help people with that money. I don't know how far I'm going to be able to go, but let's see what happens. Let's see how far I can take this.
Wow. And are you, and you don't have to say an exact number, and this has been a question on my mind, but are you making money for yourself at least now?
A little bit. Okay. I don't have a high overhead.
That's good.
Right now I have my brother, my brother-in-law. Well, I call him brother-in-law, but my girlfriend's brother. We all live together in the same house. So we split the rent, and I don't have a lot of bills. Before I started doing this, I paid almost everything I possibly could for a year. So I could be set up just to have a little overhead and go for it. So right now I'm just covering myself and doing okay.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love your story of how you started, and you didn't start from where you were like super successful, right? You literally started when you were pretty much relatable to everyone else, right? And maybe not exactly, right? But I feel like if there was someone super rich, I think this all the time, super wealthy, and he wants to give, but they won't know how. They just don't. And so what they do is usually they'll go buy a bunch of pizzas or something and just give it out, right? But sometimes people don't want that. People want a pair of socks.
Yeah.
People want someone to talk to. People want just some sort of hope. And pizza isn't really hope. It might be to some people. Some people, yeah. Some people love pizza for sure. Yeah, it gives me hope sometimes. But I think that's amazing because I found your content when you pretty much started, and I was like, I love it, right? And I wasn't thinking about like this company for the longest time, and I was just a follower.
Yeah.
And then it clicked to me that like everyone that I was following, it was you, Motivator, Jimmy Dart, and just like Eli, like tons of people that I related to the most and I genuinely enjoyed. I wasn't following it because they were my friends. I wouldn't even say when I met Eli, he wasn't my friend yet. We met like and we briefly chatted, but I loved his content.
Yeah.
Because it would pop up and it just like it spoke to me. Right. And so going back to you, it's just like when you go to like I guess, homeless people or people in poverty paying rent to rent, like you're able to relate to them. So you understand and so they feel not threatened or anything. And I think I'm trying to figure that part out because I wasn't never close to homelessness, like for sure. But I've served in Skid Row for like 10 years of my childhood because of my dad. And I didn't understand why I was doing this, but my dad would always do it. And then after he finished the Skid Row series, he would go down to Mexico and do the same thing there. But I was like, why would you do it there? You can't even speak the language, right? And it's funny, but like my dad pretty much speaks like better Spanish than English sometimes now. And
But he didn't then.
He didn't, yeah, at all. He only spoke Korean. And Korean to English is hard. Imagine Korean to Spanish.
Yeah.
I was just like, my dad really just has so much love and passion to just give, right? And so that's kind of where I think family plays a lot into me and wanted to start this company and just like meet people like you and Eli. And so honestly, like what you do is like seriously amazing. And so like I that's what made me reach out to you. And I didn't think you were gonna respond. Most people like they don't see emails, and I'm sure you get crowded a lot.
I get a lot, and in the beginning, I was really good about answering almost everything. Now it's gotten a lot tougher. Definitely, I get 50 to 100 emails and messages of people asking me to pay their bills, pay my rent, pay this, pay that. There was one the other day. I've been a follower from the beginning. I really need help. Can you puts their Cash App in there? Can you send me $1,000? And I'm like, if you've been a follower from the beginning, you should know that I don't give out cash. So why would I send you money if I don't even give cash to the people I'm helping all the time? I don't know. Like
it was probably me though.
So I don't know, but one of my friends was like, dude, those people, there's people like that's how they make their living, and that's probably all they do all the time. It's just send people like you messages. All it takes is one to bite. And I want to build something in the future where there's a way that I can help people that do need, like, that are serious. They really do need the help. I can't obviously help everyone, but give an option or something. I don't know. So I want to figure something out. I'm working on it. It's been interesting, and I've grown a lot. Things have gotten to a place that I hoped they would get to, but it happened faster than I thought it would. And there has been ups and downs. Yeah. But yeah, at the beginning, just taking whatever I made to go help people, my budget was pretty tight. I didn't have a lot. Yeah. But I was like, and before I started, I was like, all right, so I'm just going to tell them I only have $20 I can spend. Wow. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to ask. And if it goes a little over, I'll deal with it. I'll figure it out. I'll have to go do more Uber tomorrow. I don't know, but I'll make it work. And like very few of them asked for anything over it. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty crazy. Like, and it's gotten to a point now where I really have to like encourage people and remind them like, no, like whatever, I can help you. I can get it. And I mean, it's almost never that I have someone ask for something that's out of reach. I mean, these people don't, little means a lot to them,
Have you seen Schindler's List? It's like a movie made by Steven Spielberg.
No.
Basically, I think it was like, I might be wrong, but it's a movie based off Schindler, and he has this list of people that he saved. I believe it was like Jewish people that he was saving from Hitler at that time. Mm-hmm. And he just went into debt, just as much money as he can get just to save these people. And he just didn't care. And it's a real movie. It's based off a true story. Yeah. And so, well, it's not like as intense as yours, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like, it's like you almost like kind of just like went for it, and like I don't care what the cost. You did think about it. It's human nature, but it's like, there's this quality that a lot of people don't have. It's like, oh, I don't care what happens to me as long as it helps the other person. And it can get people in a very dangerous place too. And so even Eli, I'm going to use Eli as a great example. I'm going to use him a lot for this, but his content is very mental awareness, and it's almost like he's digging a deeper like root into all these different topics that can hurt him too, right? And so even when I reached out to him, I was in a dark spot, and he was in a dark spot, but like it might have made him feel worse. It might have made him feel better. And even for you right now, and I've been on that spectrum of just giving, and sometimes I walk away feeling bad. And you must go through a lot of those, because it's like you meet so many people, and there are some people that like, oh, I just wish I could help, but I just can't.
Yeah. No, like, I mean, that's the hard part is I'd wish I could just get everybody off the street.
Yeah.
But a lot of them aren't ready. A lot of them don't want to take that next step. I can't go work for everybody. I can't work for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't even, like, they have to fill out the application. I'm not them. I can put it in front of them. I can do everything else. And at some point, what I have learned is the people that do more of the legwork on their own typically are going to succeed more than the ones who aren't willing to do anything.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm trying to put something together to where I don't want it to be too structured, because everybody needs their own thing. Like, everybody's case is different.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is, I don't want to say a problem, but that's a lot of what happens now is there's this program and these steps, and as soon as you can't check this box, you're out.
That's like a lot of rescue missions like that I was looking at, and you need some form of ID to like get inside, right? There's a checklist in order for you to get there, but it's like most of them don't have that checklist.
Yeah.
Right. And especially on top of it, it's like money too, right? Like, even though it's a shelter home, you still need some sort of money, right? And I'm like, how's this gonna help? Like, this is only providing a space for people that need help. Like, you're giving them nothing. And so I'm learning about all this, and it's tough. It's so tough. And I think that interview, Invisible Wall, was it? Or Invisible, no, the YouTube channel, Invisible, he interviews.
Invisible People.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I saw one like just the other day, and I was just watching it, and I was like, wow, like, I think I learned from that more than like my experience, because it's like a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
Right? And because what I was doing as a kid was just giving food, right? And you don't even speak to them. And so you don't know what actually is going through their brain. And until today, this morning, I sat down with somebody, and I think I sat with him like 30 minutes off camera, and just talked to them like, hey, like, how's your day? He's like, I'm cold. And he's just like waving back and forth. And in my assumptions, like, oh, is he like on something? Is he drunk? Right. But it's like 10 in the morning. Like, there's no way. And I just asked him, like,
would it matter?
It probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I wanted to talk to him. And I was like, oh, like, what's going on? He's like, I'm just so cold. And I'm like, but he has this like thick layered jacket. And I'm like, oh, it's probably because of his health. His health isn't good. Or like he hasn't been sleeping properly. So like, you know how like if you don't sleep properly, you kind of like feel off. It's like that, but to a exaggerated level. And so, I was just speaking to him, and I asked him like maybe 30 minutes in, I was like, is it okay if we like record our conversation and maybe have the camera on? He's like, the first thing he said, does it pay? And I was like, oh, like, I said no. But I knew I was going to pay him, because I'm taking up his time, and his story can mean something. And I don't want like to feel bad. Like you said, you might walk away, and it makes you feel worse that you didn't give him anything in return. Right.
Yeah.
And so, just the entire conversation, he was just saying, I miss my kids. I don't know where my kids are. One's like 12, one's 5, he's like, I might have 4. I don't know. And that's so bizarre to me. And all I wanted to do was help. And so, but I couldn't, right? I had to make sure this charity thing was going, this food bank, right? And so, but I do want to go back and like find him. He told me where he stays and like he showed me.
Did he say if he had a phone?
No, he said he has nothing because everything's been stolen like
And
all the time.
It'll get stolen a bunch of times.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, I don't want to. You know that saying? Was it feed a man, like give a man a fish, feed him for a day,
Teach him how to fish and feed him
forever, right? And so it's like that's the solution I'm trying to find right now for at least one person. I could go to him every day, and
but they have to be ready to fish.
Yes, yeah,
And a lot of them are.
Yeah, a lot of them are not.
Yeah.
But I feel like, at least from talking to him, out of the couple of people I've talked to, he seemed like he was ready. He was a little hesitant, I think, because he's been like hurt.
Yeah.
And maybe they're like from that interview I saw, it's like, oh, a lot of people lie, or in the sense of overpromise and underdeliver. Like they'll say they'll come back, but they don't. They say that like, oh, like they gave me $20, but then I couldn't do anything with that $20. It doesn't really get me anywhere, and they get upset at me for not like doing something with that $20.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, people think that? Like that's insane. Like what?
People have expectations, and they think, what could I could get all of this stuff with that amount of money, but you can't, or all you bought was cigarettes or whatever. There's so much more that goes on there.
Yeah. And so I had a conversation up until the end. I was like, if there is one thing you need right now, what could it be? And he's like, shoes. I just want some. But he had some nice shoes. I was so confused. It looked better than mine because I had some. I don't care.
Size?
No, they were the right size, and I think he was just like, maybe it was worn out. Like I just couldn't tell, but from the outside, it looked like a brand new Adidas shoe. And I asked him like, "What are you gonna do today?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna walk around and see if I can get some new shoes." And he was so adamant about that, and I was like, "Oh, like, is there any store nearby? Like, we can go together." And he's like, "No, maybe on Fig and 7th." And I was like, "Oh, that's so far. Like, I can't leave the station too far."
Yeah.
So I was like, in my brain, I was telling Eli like earlier today, like, "Oh, let's go back tomorrow and see if he's there, and like, let's just see if we can help him out, and if he's ready to be a fisherman. Like, I think that's a good thing, like, to realize like if they're not ready to fish, it's like then you can't help them from that. You can still give them fish. But yeah.
No, and like everybody's got to live.
Yeah.
And everybody needs things.
Yeah.
And sometimes those things in that conversation can, encourage them or inspire them to think about fishing. Maybe not. Maybe they're not ready yet.
Yeah.
But maybe they're gonna think I will be very soon.
Yeah.
If people care, like it's not everybody's as cold as I thought.
Yeah.
That person spent some time with me.
Yeah.
That can happen totally, and that's a lot of what I try to do too. A lot of people don't see, but a 1 minute video is usually taken from an hour or more of conversation and time.
Yeah, I watch him.
Yeah.
I watch it all. Yeah, he's seen some of it, and and it's great, man. Like what you do it's not normal. I will tell you that. Like, and that's what I love. I think a lot of people have been like conditioned to just think like for yourself, and not in a bad way. It's not like they're selfish. It's just like they have never probably like, tried to step out of their comfort zone and turn around and get them that Whopper or get them that cheeseburger, right? And I could see it in people's heart for sure. They want to, but they just don't know how.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's the kind of like, I think people that watch your videos and like not know you, but know you as social media, that's what they can feel. Like they're living that heart you have through them. And so even Andy, like when I showed him the first time, he was like, I love this guy. And he only says that about two people right now. And it's Eli and you. And
that's cool. We should feel special.
Yeah. And Andy's a great guy. Hopefully I can get him on the podcast. He's amazing too. And he, I wouldn't want to, live with him if he wasn't like such a great guy. I think I have that standard at least of like, hey, you can be a millionaire and live with me. Oh, sorry. You could be a millionaire, but I won't really like care that much. I just want like
a good
authentic,
person.
Good people, and I'm also not the decider of who good people is. Right. But I think it's fair enough that people can have their own opinions about like who they want to live with, right? And so, man, like when I saw your content, I saw everyone else's, I was like, can we just like round you guys all up like the Avengers and like and, like, you know, do like some crazy project, you know, like you see Mr. Beast, you see all these like famous YouTubers rounding up the famous YouTubers and doing fun stuff, right? That's amazing. I love it. And, you know, entertainment is always needed, right? It brings joy. But like, imagine doing that with like you guys, right? And like, I'm not saying that you guys are also very different. We're all the same people. We can all do what you do, in the sense of like, you know, you're encouraging us to do it, but a lot of people are scared to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's that mental block to take
that's
that
why
first step, right?
I do it the way I do, and if people want to, like I always say, like I'm just me and you're just you.
Yeah.
And together we're just us.
Yes.
And we can do anything.
Yeah.
And if you're too afraid or anxious or whatever it may be, you can let me do it for you. Mm-hmm. You know, just if you contribute, it's all going to go to the same place. We're doing it together, even though you're not out there. Mm-hmm. I couldn't have done it without you. Yeah. So you played an important role on the team.
Yeah. Them watching you boosts you more in so many ways.
It's a team effort.
Yeah. And that's what people don't realize. Like, you know, I think, no one is ever doing anything alone. Like this podcast setup, right? Like I didn't make this. I didn't get this
there
delivered.
Was a lot of hands.
Someone, even this, like, it's like, it's so insane. Like if anyone says like, you know, they're doing, oh, that's my dishwasher.
Dishes are done.
Yeah. Dishes are done. So yeah. Now, you know, I'm not really Asian, not hand washing them.
If you got any questions, you should spit them out because I'm not quick at answering.
Yeah. There was a few, but I like where we're going right now. I prefer this. And I know you've been here for a while, and I want to make sure you get home in time.
No, but I want to make sure, like, you know, I'm here. It's not like I can come back tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
So
we can go to you.
Totally.
I've never been to Reno. Have you been to Reno? Yeah, I've never even heard of it, honestly, until you told me. Yeah, and now it's like
you've heard of Lake Tahoe, though, right?
Yeah, is it close?
Yeah, Tahoe's like 30 minutes from Reno.
Oh, it's that close, but it's in Nevada. It's like
the border runs through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like not half, but part of Tahoe is in Nevada, and the other parts in California.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, like I still do work a regular job.
Yeah.
I'm going to work this Saturday. I've tapered it down now to where I work 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's for my mental health and just to like take a break.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about everything else I drive a van right now in the winter. I haul people up to the ski resorts and they put their skis on the back. Actually, I do it for them. We have a rack and it's like a 4-wheel drive van. You drive through the snow and it's a blast, dude. I love it. It's fun. And everybody's like on vacation and having a good time. And it's cool. I get to talk to people all day and it's just, it takes my mind away from everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
there's a lot of creators, like YouTubers that, you know, make videos obviously. And so they need a break from it, you know, even though they love it. Like, do you know who MKBHD is? He's like this, guy that does tech videos.
Yeah.
Marquez Brownlee. Yeah. He loves tech and he loves making videos, but he needs a break from it too. And so his escape is ultimate frisbee. And so it's like, now, you know, it's similar to like you and all of us kind of need it, but like making videos all day, I'm sure it's exhausting, even though it's like for a good cause. And then, but that's crazy to me that you do something I did not expect. Like I thought you would still be like Ubering or something like.
No, I mean, it's a different form of it. I just, those apps don't pay, dude. Even so, that was another thing is like when I started doing it, I thought I was going to be able to make $20 an hour, $25 an hour. And I was like, and I did in the past.
Yeah. Oh.
But like when I started up the app at the first day, you get text messages saying you go out, deliver, you could make this much. And it would be like up to 25 an hour. Yeah. And then like next weekend it was 23 an hour. And then the next weekend it was 21 an hour. And then the weekend after that, it was 19 an hour. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, and not only that, I was only making like 15. It was, and that's again before any expense. Like that's your gross. So like you take off your fuel, your wear and tear, insurance, whatever, all your expenses, and you're like lucky to clear minimum wage.
Yeah.
Depending on what car you drive.
Yeah. I did a test on that. I wanted to become an Uber driver, and so I did a lot of calculations. Long term, I think it was like you make maybe 25 cents an hour, like because you have to pay for your car, you have to get a new car, right? Like I think it was within the span of 10 years. Like you just do it, and I'm just like, this is so useless.
Yeah. No, it's not good for it's great for the company, but not the drivers.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know why, but like I really wanted to keep going because I think that instant cash of knowing like, oh, I can make $100 today easy.
Yeah, I have this bill I need to pay. I can get that and pay it.
Done.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Dang. And are you still doing that right now?
No. Okay. No, I haven't done that in a long time.
Okay. What do you do now? Like, before that, I wanted to know, what was your job before? You said you got laid off.
Oh, that. I was actually in the cannabis industry.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a long background in the cannabis industry.
Okay.
And I just got tired of it. You know, not just that job, but everything. And I totally moved away and kind of removed all of that from my life, and kind of became the person that I always wanted to be and that I saw myself as. But I was just kind of numb and dull and didn't, I would think about things or say I'd want to go help somebody, but then I would just kind of like, not do it.
Yeah.
And once I moved away from all that, I was able to be who I felt I was.
Yeah. You're like do you say that you're a new person?
Somewhat. I don't say I'm a new person. I just say I'm myself.
Oh.
And I don't think I was myself for a long time.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think everyone else kind of went through that too.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing, like everyone has like a phase of trying things, what society's telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
The big one here in LA is like hustle, right? You're like, gotta make it, you gotta be successful, and everyone loves talking and bragging, right? And I'm just like, why is that important again? Like, yeah, so that's amazing that you kind of like got knocked out, but then from all this, you got knocked back into realizing.
No, I mean, it all happened the way it was supposed to.
I'm sure, yeah.
I do believe that.
Yeah.
And getting out of like the LA area was a big part of it too, because it's like, as you mentioned, that hustle state of mind where, and everybody's only as cool or as good as they hustle. And what did you just come up with? What do you have? Your car's old? Like, seriously, bro? Like, where do you live? Like, none of that really matters.
I feel that right now because I don't have a car, and so I borrow from my roommates. And everyone always like, oh, like, you drive now? Because everyone knows I sold my car.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm just like borrowing it from my friends. But I feel when I say I'm borrowing from my friends, I have this thought in my brain that like, oh, they're maybe judging me in some way, right? And even when I had like a 2004 Honda Accord, right? And
it's a good car.
It's a good solid car. But man, all my friends at that age were like, obviously driving BMWs, but in my head, I'm like, why would you get a BMW? Like that is the most like inefficient, depreciating car. Like,
oh, I went through it, man.
Yeah,
I went through it. I did that when I was young.
Yeah.
And they're so fun to drive. I will admit it, 100%. And I like to drive. I like cars.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just you don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't have a vehicle that's newer than 2005.
Wow.
I like them. I think they're great cars. Like I'm cool with it. And I don't have one with less than 100,000 miles.
Wow.
But why do I need more?
Yeah. And then like I'm gonna bring this up, but Eli has a Mini Cooper, and then I would make fun of him so much not because it was like a cheap car. It's just a Mini Cooper. Like those cars, if you get into an accident, you will die.
Oh,
like,
I would definitely
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not the most reliable from what
Yeah.
I'm told. I mean, it's basically a cheap BMW, but
Yes.
I'm not saying anything
My
bad.
Mini's
I
in
don't
the
know.
shop right now.
Please,
Like,
yeah,
It's
please,
in the shop right
it's
now.
literally just waiting for a tow
yeah,
truck
please,
tomorrow.
please sponsor us, Mini Coopers. No, but like, even Andy used to drive one, and I was just like, why would you guys drive these things? Like, you are gonna. It's not even about like the look. It's about the safetyness. Like that's what I was concerned about more.
Yeah.
But I guess I can't talk much because I was a Tesla owner, and then now they both drive Teslas. And I
No,
think
those are
yeah,
cool cars though.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, like if you can do it, they're awesome. But
Yeah.
I drive far.
Yeah.
And it just isn't practical for me to have to charge all the time.
Yeah, it definitely isn't practical for
And
long
I honestly
drivers.
couldn't afford one. I mean, I'll be straight up. I'm
Yeah.
not like trying to play around.
Honestly, I don't even know why I got one. I was like, I wasn't even like, there's a minimum amount of money that finance people recommend you should have in order to purchase like a Tesla or like X amount of cars, right? And so I didn't have enough, but I still went for it. And, you know, I made that decision knowing like I'm young, I'm going to live a little bit. And man, like, I wish I didn't get it. Like in reality, like I grew up and I'm just like, I wish I had the money that I saved and like got it and
But
saved
did
it for
you
something else.
enjoy it? Did you
I
have
did,
fun?
which is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I think that's the borderline I had a lot of like warfare with. It's like, oh, I don't tell this story enough, and it kind of hurts me and haunts me a little bit, but I went to Las Vegas on New Year's last year, and the table bill came out to $160,000 for New Year's night. We were sitting right next to the chain smokers. That's insane. That is like 4 people's salaries, like all put in together. And to me, I'm like, why would anyone spend this much money? Like it must be like so sinful, like such a bad thing. But I spoke to someone and he kind of opened my eyes a bit in the sense of like money's proceeds so differently to someone else. So you can't blame them for being rich. You know, it's like they weren't put on this world to decide like how much money they're given.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you know, I that's why I came to conclusion like, wow, I'm actually kind of grateful that I don't live that life, because you kind of turn out wanting to that kind of person, going to Vegas all the time, bottle service, and then it's almost like people just look at you differently. Like, oh, you're a guy with money. I almost expect you to pay everything for me, right? That's tough. And that guy, like, he was my friend, and he was telling me like, I don't get why people like expect me to pay for things. And I'm just like, well, you keep paying for it because you want to, and you want to flex, and you keep this title, right? And so I think that's where like LA can get really rough, where, you know, again, like if have a lot of money, you can have a lot of friends in some sense, right? And so
Yeah, friends, totally.
right? Yeah, and I'm sure there are some good friends, and but are I feel like your real friends are willing to tell you no, yeah, and not just say like, oh, you should spend $160,000 on a table tonight. Like, if my friends told me like to do that, I wouldn't think they're my friends. Like, that's crazy. Like, well, again,
I could get like probably like 50 people off the streets with $160,000, dude.
Yeah, I could get a home and put a down payment and get like 10 people to live there, right? And so like that's what's going through my brain, and I'm like, if only like I can convince like these rich people that know like they can make so much of a bigger difference, but they just don't have the heart for it, right? It's like teaching them how to fish, right? Like they're just not ready for it, right? Sucks, but it's life. And I'm sure you've been through this kind of route too. You have some friends or people you've met that are really wealthy, and they just think so differently, right? And
Definitely. You build a standard of living, you know, and you get accustomed to that, and it's really hard to remove yourself or think, you know, I don't need this.
Yeah.
It takes something.
Yeah.
Something has to happen for you to go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, and especially around here, there's so many people that have the new Tesla or have the new BMW or have whatever, and they live paycheck to paycheck, and they have a nice home and everything, but they're like right on the edge all the time, but they have all these nice things.
Yeah. So much pressure.
Yeah. Why live like that?
Yeah. That's what I love right now. Like not having that pressure, and it's just so different. And I wish I was taught earlier, but you can't control stuff like that. You know.
Oh no, and
Right,
I think you have to you have to learn on your own.
Yeah.
You have to go through it, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
I definitely had my own stuff that I went through.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what made me who I'm at. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have any questions for Nate? I'm very because I wanted Eli to chat a little bit with you too as creator to creator.
Yeah, I think just like first off, hearing your story is very incredible to me. It's just very. I kind of grew up in a family where we tried to give back as much as we could. It was like integrated into my life, but I never felt like I had a true heart or like passion for it. And I think that when I see other people who do it, it intrigues me. And so you mentioned earlier in the conversation that for a time you didn't have a heart for it. What do you think changed that?
Well, back then I was just more concerned with again like the LA mentality, kind of like, you know, what's my next big thing? Like I need to be successful. I need to do this. I can't worry about everybody else. I need to worry about myself. And to a sense there's balance to that. You do have to be okay. You know, like you can't give everything you have and then all of a sudden you have nothing. So there's a balance. But finding that balance is the key. And at that time, you know, I was looking for it. And again, you know, I liked to party when I was younger. So my biggest thing was like, where's the next party? Where's the next concert? Where's the next whatever? Where's the next event? You know, are you going to Coachella? Whatever it was, that kind of a thing, that kind of mentality. And you just don't think about it. You do become numb to it around here. You do, because there's so much of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not that and I always have liked giving. I've always liked helping people, always. But there were times where it kind of bit me, meaning like I gave too much, and now I was in a tough spot, and I was like, man, I can't. This is frustrating. Like I don't want to stop doing this, but how do I keep doing it? And it's like, well, I just have to focus on myself for a while. I can't think about it. I have to just put it out of sight, out of mind, and worry about me. And to a certain extent, like I said, that's balance. You have to do some of that at some point. And once I lived a different lifestyle and had a lower overhead and, I just was like, okay, now I'm happy with less. I don't need all this other stuff. Maybe, now I can actually, when I start getting more, I can go give more. And so that's where it started working toward and figuring out a way in which I could use my time to do something, Uber Eats, and use that, go make some money, and then go give it away.
Absolutely. No, that's super cool to hear. I really only had one other question. I guess there's like a follow-up question to that, but I feel like as a creator, you get so in your niche, you're always talking about other people's stories or what they're up to in life right now. And I just think that anyone who's listening to this is probably curious about you. So my first, I guess, broad question is, what the heck's up, man? Like, like what's up in life right now? I'm curious.
Well, I just started getting back into one of my older hobbies that I've always really enjoyed. And that's racing remote control cars. Technically, I'm a sponsored driver, which is cool, but I just got back into it. So I'm not anywhere near the level I was. Yeah. At one point I owned an RC car track, and that was just like life for a while. So I'm balancing that, and it's funny because now I do it just for fun, and if I get better, I get better. If I don't, whatever, it's a release and it's fun. I used to take it super serious, and I had to be like I had to go every other day or every couple days or something. But and then I'm honestly like it's hard to find time being a creator, at least in the way I do things.
Yeah,
I'm sure other ones find time, but I wish I didn't have to edit so much. I wish I could be helping people more. Yeah. I truly do, because I feel like that's a balance that, every time I'm sitting there editing and like I have to turn it into the best story possible. Yeah. I just have to. I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist, but like it just has to make sense, and and I have to share that person's story. And the better the video does, the more donations I'll get, and the more people I'll get to go help. So there's like, I don't want to say pressure, but the better it does, the more I can do.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that works. But at the same time, I wish I could just forget about it and just help all the time. And then also the hard part is like, there are days where, I'm not necessarily helping people. I'm focusing on Nate that day. Yeah. And driving by somebody that I see and not doing something is really, really hard. Yeah. But I'm training myself to do more of that once in a while. Like, take care of Nate. You have to. Otherwise, before I know it, it's like I won't even have my own laundry done. You know what I mean? Like, I'll go all day without eating. Like, I've done that many times. So I still have to take care of myself.
Yeah, you'd fit in just well here, by the way. That's great. Are you still into like cars and driving a lot? Like, I'm curious because like to follow up with that, like, I don't enjoy it as much, but he watches a lot. And then I don't know if you watch Hoonigans. Yeah. Like, Jason, he's also like, he was part of the crew like
cool.
for a while. And then I recently went on the F3 track.
Oh yeah,
in Italy, and it was nice. And like, I feel like I have to get more involved into it because I've been to F1 races, I've been to all these things, but my first F1 race, I was there, and I was like, "What's F1?"
No way.
And
really?
I see this tall guy standing next to his car, or I guess I don't even know if you call it a car anymore. It doesn't look like a car to me. And then I don't think much of it, and then I go back and. To my friends, and I'm like, oh, I met this guy named like Lewis Hamilton, and then
that's exactly who I imagined too. That's
yeah,
funny.
and I was just like, and everyone's just like, where? I was like, some H1 K1 thing, and they're like F1. I was like, yeah, something like that, and they're like, where? I was like, oh, in Singapore. I was like, you were at the Singapore? I was like, why is this so special? He's like, this is the biggest thing. I was like, is it like NASCAR? And then these are like British friends, and they're just like so triggered.
I could see that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I didn't know car culture was that of a niche.
Well, that's like soccer versus football or something too.
Yes. But it's good to know.
Who are you rooting for in the World Cup final?
Ooh.
Not big on racing's my thing.
Uh-huh.
Regular sports, or what? I don't want to say regular sports, but whatever. Those type of sports, not big. No.
I had one last question for you that I think is a good way to pick the beat back up. Pick the beat back up.
Nice.
And I call them tiny peak moments. I was filming a video, and one of my friends called them that. For me, a tiny peak moment is like the small things that you really get joy out of life of. Like when I let someone in when I'm driving and you just see their little hand through the back window, like, thank you for letting me in. What are some of those small peak moments for you in life?
Just like, I like really like authentic and good interactions with random people. And like, especially like if somebody's working and having a bad day and you can tell, and you ask them, how are you doing? And they give you the quick, I'm fine. I'm doing well. And then you dig deeper.
Yeah.
And then you get something out of them, and you actually have a little bit of a conversation. You see them smile when you walk away or something. And I do that a lot. And it's just natural. I've just always been like that. My dad kind of instilled it in me. And that's another reason why I thought I would be good at doing what I do is I just have a knack for talking to people.
Yeah.
And, I listen well. And that's one thing a lot of people don't do is listen well. So I enjoy that. Yeah.
No, that's sick. That's super cool.
It's hard. I used to listen so well that I didn't talk at all. And that's hard too. And so I was telling him this earlier, but like I would go on dates, and girls would know nothing about me because I just don't talk. But they're like, you're such a great listener, but I know nothing about you. And I'm just like, isn't it a good thing? Like,
yeah,
but I guess not, right? Like, it's a balance.
There's
balance of things.
Yeah. Balance is key.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks. Oh yeah, thanks for we're pretty much coming up on the hour, but thanks for coming out here. And it's
Got
nice to
nothing
finally...
else for me? I mean, I'm here.
You want to see one of the AI questions?
Let's see an AI question.
Yeah,
I'm curious what they got.
Yeah, we don't have to go through it, but it's so funny. Jimmy Dart just pops in my feed. Some of the questions were, how do you balance your own personal life and well-being with the demand of creating and sharing, which we pretty much talked about.
Yeah, I think
right?
we went over that.
The other one was, what advice do you have for others who want to make a positive difference in the world, but may not know where to start and how to make a meaningful impact?
That's a good question. I get that a lot. Yeah. A lot of people ask me that, and I answer it in my lives all the time. Okay. But I think everyone can start with just a conversation, and ask somebody actually what they do need or want. Yeah. Don't just hand them whatever's left over. See what they truly need and talk to them and hear them out. And even if there is addiction or mental illness or whatever it may be, just listen, talk, and treat everybody as a regular human being. Yeah. And no different. That will make a bigger difference than anything else. And of course, make sure you feel safe.
Yeah.
Don't put it, no matter who you are, don't put yourself in an unsafe situation. But if it's summertime, offer a water. If it's wintertime and it's cold, offer a jacket. Whatever, I don't know. Just ask. See what somebody might need. But a lot of times, and I found this too, is people might say that they're really cold, like you mentioned earlier with the person you had spoken with. Yeah. They might say that they're this or they're that, and then you talk with them for a while, and it changes. And that, so a good conversation where you listen well, and even if none of the conversation makes sense to you, just listen, because it makes sense to them.
That's great. And the last one was, which is what I wanted to end with, two things. Can you tell us about any upcoming projects that Team Just Us is going to be working on? Like future projects? Yeah,
we got actually the Heartbeat brand. The hat I'm wearing here. Nice. Make by far the best hats around. Nice. I'm working closely with them to we're having Justknate socks that are coming out soon. The cool thing about Justknate socks is that for every pair you buy, I'm going to go give a pair out. Awesome. Socks are by far the most requested item. So yeah, I think that's really, really cool. We're going to start working on hats and other stuff, Justknate hats, and there's a bunch of stickers that are coming out soon too. Team Just Us, Justknate stickers, and more long form content coming very soon.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. And the last thing I want is you might not be, but I feel like a lot of people are sentimental here. But like, what's a quote that that is speaking to you nowadays? That's very impactful for you.
It's one I just kind of made myself, and it was like, instead of, I caught myself saying it all the time. It's like, I'm going to start. I'm going to start. And I said, no, I crossed it out on my whiteboard, and I said, I started doing. And instead of saying I'm going to start, when I catch myself, I think of what I'm going to do differently or what I've done that's been a step toward that. A lot of times I've already done something that is a step in that direction, but I don't give myself the credit for it. And count that, and then it reminds you that like you are moving toward it, and then you think of the next step instead of putting it off. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Do you know the story about the boy and the horse in the fog?
No.
It's like a cute little story, but basically it's about a boy and a horse in a fog. And the boy says, like, we're lost. I can't see anything in front of me. And then the horse says, what can you see? He says, oh, like the floor. And the horse says, then just take one step. And then that's all. Like, it just ends there.
Yeah.
And it's like, in reality, that's all it is. Just take one step at a time. And you might have these things that you want to do, but you don't need to think about that. You can just take the next step and go from there.
Yeah, just start doing something.
Yeah. I forgot what it's from a book. This tale is actually from a book, and I probably said it so incorrectly, but It's okay.
It doesn't matter. You got the point across. That's all that matters.
But yeah. Thanks so much, Nate. This is
been
awesome.
fun.
And it's finally nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, we chatted a few times online, and it's just seeing you. I think you knocked, and I was like, oh, it has to be Nate, because no one knocks in like whoever comes here, because everyone's just like friends at this point. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's Nate.
Well, and I'm old school, man. I
Yeah.
do actually knock on the door. I don't stand out front on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. Thanks so much. And
Cool.
guess we're signing out. I don't know how to end these videos
See you
yet.
guys next time, I
So,
guess.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do another one.
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah.
it'll be to this scale, but I'll be around.
Maybe next time we can come out to you, because I
Yeah.
have to.
We could do it at Tahoe. We could do it
Yeah, in your van.
in the van, trailer, in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.